Welcome to Joy, Passion, and Profit, where we empower entrepreneurs to build companies that change the world. We believe there's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur, and our goal is to provide you with insight and wisdom to bring your vision to reality. If you're committed to making an impact as well as making a profit, let us welcome you to Joy, Passion, and Profit. Hello and welcome to Joy, Passion, and Profit, where our intention is to empower entrepreneurs to build companies that change the world. You see, it is my belief that there's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur than right now. And so my intention is to provide you with some insights and information that can support and empower you to be the best entrepreneur you can possibly be. And so I want to share a little bit of wisdom I learned from my grandfather. And when I was about 10 years old, I'll never forget this conversation. I was about 10 years old, and I walked up to my grandfather. I said, you know, Grandpa, when I grow up, I'm going to be rich. And he asked me, how was I going to do that? And I told him that I was going to own my own company. And he said, wow, that's a great goal to have. He said, if you're going to be rich, he says, I'm going to give you the 2 keys to being rich. He said, lesson number 1, if you're going to be rich, you have to learn to think like rich people. He said the only difference between rich people and poor people is how they think. And the second lesson, he said, if you're going to be rich, you have to learn how to listen. He said, because rich people will tell you how they got rich. And when I say listen, I'm talking about read their stories, make them mentors, learn as much as you can about them, read their books, whatever information they put out, read the stories of the people that you want to emulate. And at 10 years old, somehow I really resonated with that message and those lessons. And I've been a serial entrepreneur since I was 14 years old. Started my first company when I was 14. And so I have a deep passion for entrepreneurs. And the intention here is to bring in experts and business people that can share information and wisdom with you to support and empower you. And my guest, oh my goodness, have I got a guest for you today? Someone that's going to inspire you, motivate you, get you psyched up to let you know what's really possible. And she is the perfect guest for Joy, Passion, and Profit. So without further ado, let's welcome Mrs. Cathy Christen to the show. Cathy, how you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much, Michael, for having me.
Well, we've got a lot of ground to cover. And before we get into your work, I want to just kind of get you in the groove here and just start with a few icebreaker questions. So first of all, share with the audience where you're from and tell us a little bit about growing up. What was that like?
Yeah, so I actually am from Puerto Rico. I grew up in Miami, 6 people in my family. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. And we actually grew up in like a 2-bedroom apartment, which really launched my desire to, you know, you told your grandpa, I want to be rich, you know, like I just remember telling my grandma, like, I just wanted a lot of money, never have to worry about anything. I want to travel. I want to do things. Because I remember even saying like, how come we can't go to Disney World every year like all the other kids? And they're like, well, you know, honey, we can't do that. Like, and it was always, you know, money. I remember money and time being reasons why we couldn't do things like time off, or my parents couldn't come to the game because they had to work. And so at an early age that instilled like, I want freedom, time freedom, and I want money freedom, which I'll share later is like what I do today. It's what I'm passionate about, creating time and money freedom, you know, for people so they can do what they want when they want. And it really started from growing up, you know, and so we didn't have much. And my family lives very, very simple. But what we did have was a lot of great, you know, gratitude and appreciation for the things we did have. My dad was incredible at taking us to soup kitchens to serve and getting us involved with our church at a young age. And so I never really felt like I was lacking because I felt like I had so much by going home to air conditioning, getting to shower and having a bed. You know, I didn't really know much. I just saw people who didn't shower and smelled funny when I was serving food. And being like, you know, 12 years old, I'm like, Daddy, they smell. He's like, well, everyone doesn't have the luxury of getting to shower every day, you know, like that's a great thing that you have. You should be grateful, you know. And so I always grew up like, oh, I'm so grateful I get to shower. Oh, I'm so grateful I have a bed. So I'm very, looking back, I just actually was with my dad in Israel for his birthday, and we were chatting about stuff, and this was a dream trip his whole life, and I've gone like 6 times. I go like every 2 years, and I was like, Dad, we have to go for your birthday. And it was beautiful to be able to share that time with him and show him around. And as we were there, we were talking because my friend was like, your dad is just I'm like, we grew up. So I'm like, I was always so mad because we didn't get like Christmas presents and like, because we got one present. That was it. And all my friends were like, look at everything I got for Christmas. And that's the only thing I look back and I'm like, how come we didn't get more presents? And my dad just laughed. And he's like, I remember when you were like 3 years old and your mom got all these presents for you and you were just opening and ripping them apart. And you didn't even know what was happening. And after that, I was like, nope, never again. And it's like, we had to work so hard for our money, and whatever we did want to give you guys, we wanted you to appreciate. And so I committed to trying to get you guys the number one thing on your list each year. And that was it. And being grateful to spend time together and making it about Jesus's birthday. We had a birthday cake for Jesus every year, and like spend time together. But looking back, it's, we had a very, very humble home, very quiet home, but just did a lot to like serve. And anyone who knows me, I'm so huge on like gratitude. And it's just been such a huge part of my life where it's a different lens you see the world through. Sure. And everything, as the life I get to live now, which is amazing. And things that I get, even with, companies I own, one of the companies I've worked for a long time, that I have a franchise basically of theirs and help with training and consulting. They, every time I was with a manager last week, he's like, when we take you guys to these fancy dinners, and we've been doing this to you for 17 years, you're still like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Thank you so much. Like, he's like, I love taking you to dinner. Like, it just never gets old. You're always so grateful. I'm like, I am. So that was kind of growing up, but I always knew, like, I asked people that I saw always at the soccer games, always at all the school functions. I was like, what do your parents do? What do your parents do? And the common thing was, oh, they own their own business. Oh, they own a business. Oh, they own a business. And so they were always there. And I was like, I want to own a business. So I knew early on I wanted to be an entrepreneur because those are the people I saw all the time at everything at school. And I wanted to be there always, because I always wish my parents could have been around more. But I do appreciate how they work their butts off to provide for us. So very long answer to your question.
But it's interesting how there's this common theme, I think, for a lot of entrepreneurs, in that they were brought up in not necessarily poverty, but they didn't have the things that they really wanted. And even at an early age, they intuitively knew that they wanted more. Yeah. I know we were very, very poor. We were basically the poster children for poverty back in the 60s. But I remember, even as a kid, my mom told me, if you want something badly enough, no one can keep you from attaining it except yourself. Powerful lesson. But I do remember not liking being poor. I remember very vividly.
Sure. And I like to give a lot too, from doing so much service, like even in high school. And then when I went to college, I remember buying like 300 Beanie Babies and took them to Romania for a mission trip because I wanted to give it all the kids, but I was like, I want more money so I can do things for people. Cause like, I don't know, I thought, I always wanted presents. So I'm like, I want to buy people presents, make them happy, and like, I just like doing things like that. So it was really cool, but that was a big motivator.
Got it. Now, there are some people who are optimistic about the future, while there are others who are really pessimistic. So where do you fall on the spectrum between optimism and pessimism for the future in general? Where do you fall?
I'm very optimistic, very much on that side of the scale. And for however I was wired since I was younger, I really did feel that there's, even through all the hurt that's in this world, and I do believe there's a lot of pain and a lot of hurt, and unfortunately hurting people hurt others, there's also a lot of good and a lot of beauty. And I wanted to get to experience that and show more people more of that. And I felt at an early, pretty early age, I think through doing service projects with my church, that I could make people smile and laugh, when we saw them at the homeless shelters or when we were serving. And I was like, I want to like bring more smiles to people and help more people. Just that's something that I really liked. But I think my dad really always saw the good. And he's like, there's so much good out there. There's so much, that you can do. And no matter what happened, it was just owning it. My dad was very big on how everything, there were lessons in everything. Like, what did you learn from this? What did you learn from this? If I got in trouble in school, or I did something, or I got disciplined for doing something silly for my, to my siblings, or like tripping my sister and I got a nasty spanking. And then he'd say, what did you learn from this? And like, you need to be a leader, and you're the oldest, and you're the example. And so there were always lessons. And so for me in life and whatever's happening, like whatever happens, I don't feel like things happen to us. I think they happen for us. And again, I know there's a lot of people can listen and go, oh, well, I'm sure you didn't have XYZ happen. And I've had some nasty shit happen that shouldn't happen to anyone. But I do know there's stuff out there even worse that I know have happened to people that I know. And I'm like, God, no one should ever have to go through that. But I do believe that everything we can choose to grow, to learn and or grow, or both, and go, you know what, like, I'm strong, I can get through this. And other people, when they get through here, I can be that beacon of light for them to help them through that time, because we do live in a world with a lot of pain. And again, hurting people hurt others. So there's always going to be bad shit that happens, but wanting to be that light for other people.
Gotcha. Now, if I gave you a magic wand, with this magic wand, you could create anything your heart desires. Anything your heart desires. What would your life look like 10 years from now?
I love that question. And I have a lot of fun with this. This is what I actually love to do with people. I would definitely be traveling the world, like my kids studying on the road, like homeschooling my kids. So big family, traveling around the world, doing service projects, doing fun business projects, teaching on the go, like history, getting a chance to see it. But we'd be hopping around. So 3 months in this continent or country, 3 months in this continent, but just traveling from place to place and getting to experience different cultures with my family, and still being able to run my businesses, and that's the plan, via computer, wherever I am, finding high-speed internet to get the work done, the consulting done, while getting a chance to raise my children cultured around the world.
The beauty of technology. You can pull
Oh,
it.
yeah.
That's
awesome. Gotten
awesome.
so easy. It's amazing.
All right. So now we're going to get to the fun part. So tell us what you do professionally. Share with the audience a little about Cathy Christen and her company.
So my overarching corporation is Elevated You, and it's all about helping people elevate in some capacity. I have different branches of this. So we have different companies with us, LLCs, but one of them is we have Elevated Fitness and Nutrition, which we're co-founders in that, and it's health and wellness, helping people elevate their energy, elevate their life. We have our student program. We work with Co-Vector Marketing, and we teach young people. We've been sales and entrepreneurship coaches, my husband and I, me for over 17 years now, teaching the basics of personal selling, interpersonal skills, communication, time management, organization. We have an entrepreneurship program where young people can go through a leadership academy, where they learn things from like John Maxwell, different leaders, as well as they're able to learn finances and just life skills, some of the stuff that we should learn in college, but we don't, or are not required. So it's really like, they call it Cathy University, but they learn skills for life, and they're able to earn college credits. We have a consulting company where we work with corporations, as well as individuals and solopreneurs, showing them how to create culture, team dynamics, how to build layers in their business, retention. We do facilitation work with a couple different industries for programs, initiatives that they have. And then I am a speaker, an author, life and business strategist, and this year launched out officially Start Girl. I'm the Start Girl, helping people start businesses. So I've been doing that for 17 years with people that I've coached in our student program and their families. And now this will be available to everyone across the world. But I love starting businesses, and I'm doing a simple how-to, step-by-step on how to start a business from the ground up and make sure you have a solid foundation. So super passionate about it.
Perfect. Well, I've got to read this little bio about you because I absolutely love it. It says, Cathy Christen is a spirited boss babe. Love that. Serial entrepreneur, keynote speaker, Life Plus business strategist, and best-selling author dedicated to helping others live a life they love. And that's what this is about. Having people, or shall I say, empowering people to live a life they love. And as an entrepreneur, And obviously, everyone's not going to be an entrepreneur, but for those of you who have chosen this path, the one thing that's missing, I think, for a lot of entrepreneurs is the whole idea of connection and love, doing what you love. Because it is my belief, I define an entrepreneur as someone who receives compensation in exchange for a product or service. That's my definition. Now, there are three types of compensation. There's financial compensation, there's emotional compensation, and then there's spiritual compensation. And I think where a lot of entrepreneurs get tripped up is they focus only on the financial compensation. They just want to make money. If that's your choice, that's fine. But if you want to be an entrepreneur that's fulfilled as well as compensated financially, you've got to include the emotional and the spiritual compensation piece.
Okay.
So that's part of my platform. I coach entrepreneurs in understanding that when you're being an entrepreneur is really just an expression of your creativity. It's an expression of who you are. Your products and services should be about something that you love, and you're just expressing yourself. I think an entrepreneur is no different than an artist, because we're creating something for someone. We're sharing ourselves with someone through our businesses and through our services and our products. So it's important that as an entrepreneur, you grasp this idea, those three types of compensation, and don't make financial compensation your number one goal. If you're going to be in business, obviously you have to make money. Profit is part of being in business. That's why my title is Joy, Passion, and Profit. You have to make a profit as a business person. But I can assure you, when you put the joy and the passion first, profits will follow. So, Cathy, I want to pick your brain a little bit, because entrepreneurs have a lot of challenges, obviously. And although I believe there's never been a simpler time to be an entrepreneur, it's definitely not easy. Yeah. Being an entrepreneur is simple, but it's not easy. It's challenging. So the first thing I think a lot of entrepreneurs have to deal with is the whole emotion of fear. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us, we may have these great ideas, and in our hearts, we know that we're capable of doing something, but yet there's a part of us that says, ooh, I'm too afraid to leave my nice, secure job, or, I'm afraid that I'm not good enough, or, we have all these fears. So I wonder if you could speak first to, how did you, because I'm sure you had some fears of your own, how did you deal with the fear when you first became an entrepreneur?
Yes, absolutely. And by the way, before I say that, I want to speak to what you were saying with, doing what you love and passion. I love the title of your podcast, Joy, Passion, and Profit, because when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so aligned, because so many people, they're trying to go make money, but they just don't love what they do. And if you're going to pour time, when you're building a business and you're building something for you, make it something you love. That's the beauty of getting to go be an entrepreneur, is that you can take what you're passionate about and create profit with it. Right. And it might not be right away. And that's a whole other topic on, the stages of a business. I believe it's like having a baby, and first it's an infant, it cries all the time. You never sleep. You're so tired, you're pouring into it. And then as it grows, things change from adolescence to teenage to adult, stage of the business. But I think it's so important. And a lot of times people are missing, or even they start doing something that you love and they lose that. Why did they love it? Why are they doing that? Or what's the bigger picture? Why did I start this business? What was it about this? What was that bigger picture that I was doing for others? And then what did I want to build for myself, for my family, for my legacy? Why did this matter? Because when things get hard, it's so important to be able to, really lean on that. And that's so huge. So I love that you said that, because it's just so important. And as far as fear goes, we all have it. So I would say anyone listening to this, the first thing to know is that every entrepreneur out there, whether we're scaling, we're growing, we're starting another branch or another company altogether of our business, there's always some fears of oh shit, is this worth investing? Is this going to work out? Because we really don't know yet. We're yeah, it's going to be fine. But there's always that fear, sometimes more than other times. Some projects I've been oh my gosh, but I'm all right, And even some that I've been super confident, then all of a sudden those little voices, well, what if this falls through? What if you put all this time? And here's the thing. When it comes to fear, you have to know, one, everyone feels it. Cool. So don't feel like, oh my God, am I the only one going through this? Like, like they weren't scared. Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were. But they didn't let fear drive the car. Fear got in the car. They saw it. They felt it. They not like, all right, you stay back there. And they let it be in the back seat, and they still drove the car. They still took action and moved where they wanted to go and didn't allow fear to take control of the wheel. And I think that a lot of times people are like, oh my God, fear, oh my God, I'm so scared. Like, no, do not let it hold the wheel. You can say, oh, hey, okay, a little scared. My first thing is, what am I scared of right now? What is actually, so I always ask myself that. And so that was something a coach shared with me years ago. And they're like, just, what are you scared of? I'm like, huh? Like, well, what are you actually scared of? I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, are you scared when you're on stage speaking that your pants are going to fall off? Are you scared that you're going to forget the words? Are you scared that you're going to spit? Are you scared that someone's going to throw a tomato at you? Like, what are you scared about? I'm like, no, I'm not scared of that. They're like, what are you scared of? So first identifying it, because it's so funny when you like really think about it, you're like, oh wait, that's kind of dumb. So my coach was like, just ask yourself, like, what am I actually scared of right now? And it's like, well, what if it doesn't work out? And it's like, well, what if it does? Like if it doesn't work out, I wasn't going to have it anyway. So I'm going all in, but just being able to acknowledge, like, what am I scared of right now? And just acknowledge that and say, okay, cool. Like, that's okay. But I'm going to do this anyway, because I know that it can get done, so just acknowledge it, like just know that it's normal. But then remind yourself, ask yourself, what am I actually scared of? Am I going to keep this from letting me hit blank? And that's why it's so important to have that future vision. And that's something I spend a lot of time with people and all our businesses. I always want to know why. Why are they working? Like, and why personally, why professionally, why financially? Like, I just want to know the bigger picture, because that's what's going to keep you going. When you're scared, you need the bigger whys. When my client was scared to make phone calls in her real estate business, the thing that had her do the calls is that those phone calls were not just phone calls. They were taking her kids to Europe or buying her a house for her and her boys. That's what that phone call was. It wasn't just booking or talking to someone to close a house, like for another realtor phone call. It was buying a home for my boys. And so when I got scared, it's like, am I going to let my fear of rejection right now keep me from giving the boys this house? Hell no. And she put on her desk, 20 calls a day equals life of my dreams. And she had her boys, the dream house, dream vacation, things she wanted to do. And it's having that bigger vision that's going to help you tell fear, get out of the way. We're going there. Like, I'm going there. That's where I want to go. You're not getting in the way. But if you don't know exactly where you're going, then fear gets in the way. And you're like, oh, like you can't tell it. Like, no, that's the direction. So very important to have your future vision, to acknowledge and to really identify what it is that's actually scaring you and say, is it worth it for me to allow that to keep me from getting blank?
Yeah. Now, one of the things I do when I feel, and if I feel fear, is I ask myself a very simple question. What's the worst thing that could happen if I try this?
Yeah.
Let's say I'm going to give a speech. So what's the worst thing that could happen? Well, I could forget my words, or I could look like an idiot, or, just things keep coming up. And so I started asking myself that question, and then I started answering, well, that's the worst thing. That's not so bad. Forget my words, no big deal. Don't look too great, no problem. But at least I'm learning, I'm willing to try. And as long as the question doesn't, or the answer isn't, I'll die, I'm willing to try. I'm willing to try. So if I'm not going to die, there's nothing that can keep me from doing it, no matter how afraid I am. But I have to start asking myself the question, what's the worst thing that could happen? If I'm making sales calls, what's the worst thing that can happen? They can say no. Doesn't mean I'm a bad person. Doesn't mean I'm a failure. They just said no. So it's important to be able to be self-introspective when you're stuck in fear, because what we have to understand is that 90% of the thoughts that we have about something occurring normally doesn't even happen.
Yep.
We create these scenarios in our heads and they never come true, but it's just the thoughts in our head. So that's why it's so important to be aware and conscious of what you're thinking, because in changing your thoughts, you can then change your actions. In changing your actions, you can then change your outcomes. So the next thing I want to talk about when it comes to being an entrepreneur or being in business or life in general is this whole idea of failure. Mm-hmm. People have an aversion to failure. And I'm going to quote my mentor, Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer taught me something that really, when he said it, it shook me to the core because it made so much sense. He says, there's no such thing as failure. There is only the non-attainment of a desired result. Mm-hmm. The non-attainment. So we had a result that we were expecting. It didn't happen. That's it. Doesn't mean you're a failure. Doesn't mean you failed. It just means you didn't attain that desired result. But what happens is people don't attain that result and they start beating themselves up and start seeing themselves as failures. Mm-hmm. And that immobilizes people. So we must be willing to understand that failure isn't real. It's something we make up in our heads. We just don't attain certain results that we want sometimes. So can you share or think of a failure that you experienced that actually turned out to be something good?
Yeah, I mean, there's been many. So let me get one. And by the way, I love what you're saying about failure because it's like, you just got to reframe it, right? Like for years ago, so a silly one when I was younger, I remember my son, and this is where it came, like I got in trouble for something happened, I got in trouble, like, look, you're not failing, you just found a way that didn't work, and I remember someone telling me that, and like, that's actually succeeding. You found a way that doesn't work. Now let's find another one, so it was this reframe on like, you're never failing, you just found a way that didn't work. So like, what's next? What's the next way? What's the next thing that we're doing, right? And it just, as I went through it, like the lessons that came, like one, the actual mental fortitude that I got, working with myself, having to train myself, keep myself up to date with classes, things. That moment is actually what turned into like the work ethic and the drive that I have to succeed, how I'm able to kind of learn anything on the fly, go, and be able to outperform others. That failure actually became one of my biggest strengths. That has led me to start different companies and, coach and speak all over the world. And it's just so funny to look at that because someone can say, oh, she got expelled from high school, or she got in trouble. Like what a failure, like being like losing that. But in that process for me, and I've seen it with businesses where something failed, but it's like, no, it actually taught me so much that helped me launch out an even stronger business, a stronger company, like so many lessons from it. And that's one of the biggest things that I've learned from seeing some of the most successful people, that again, everything that you're doing is growing you stronger. You're learning new lessons, right? So this goes back to what I was saying before with there's lessons in everything. So it's not a failure. You learned and you're like, oh, okay. Sometimes it's a really expensive class that you just took. But regardless, it's going to teach you so much for your future. And you hear lots of billionaires talk about that too. And they're like, well, that was an expensive lesson, but a lesson nonetheless, right? So knowing that the things that we go through can really, if we wanted to, and it's happened with business, it happened with school, it turned out to give me the skills and the mental and emotional fortitude to be able to go on and do all these things and not care about if I fell, if whatever, it didn't matter because I knew I could get back up and go do something even better.
Yeah. And I'm reminded of the saying that, in school, we learn the lessons and then we take a test, but in life, we take the test and then we get the lessons.
Love.
And that's what life is all about. And so for those of you who are listening, you got to get this about failure. Because I believe, this is just my belief, that everything does happen for a reason. I'm absolutely convinced of that. And so when I went through my divorce, bankruptcy, foreclosure, a deep, deep state of depression, lost everything, it looked like I failed. It felt like I failed. It was terrible. But what I know is that my divorce was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it challenged me to wake up for the first time. It challenged me to look a little deeper and to move past what society says I was supposed to be doing with my life. you know, climbing the corporate ladder and doing the societal roller coaster thing that society says. But when I went through my divorce, like I said, I was challenged to really look within my own heart and soul and wake up to who I am. And in doing so, because when I was working for this other company, the truth was a part of me was dying inside because I knew I was not supposed to be working for someone else. I knew that I was supposed to be an entrepreneur. I knew I was supposed to be in control of my own destiny. And so that divorce, that failure was the best thing that ever happened to me because it woke me up to who Michael Taylor really is. And as a result, I am now doing what I'm absolutely passionate about. I've written 7 books. I've got 4 TV shows. I do radio podcasting, and it's something that I absolutely love doing. So if you're dealing with failure right now, it's not failure. You may have a dream and you may be having some delays. Delays are not denials. They're just delays. But as long as you keep moving in the direction of your dreams, you can and you will get there. So make sure that you understand fear is temporary and failure doesn't exist. So Cathy, now I want to talk a little bit about your book. So you've put together this book to inspire and to empower. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so the book is called Life is a Masterpiece, Design and Live a Life You Love Today. And it really is so much of the teachings that I learned over almost 2 decades of coaching others, being coached, you know, being an entrepreneur, showing people how to start businesses. And finally, a friend of mine's like, are you ever going to put your stuff in writing? Like, you're the one that preaches, like, life is short. You're not promised tomorrow. And how about if you're gone? Like, your teachings and what you've helped others do in their life should go on, you know? And I looked at him and I was like, oh, because I was always like, I'm not a writer. I'm never going to like do that. But he also knew I was so big on leaving a lasting legacy and being able to create as many ripple effects in my life as possible through all the people I worked with. So he's like, man, writing a book is the way that you're going to create the most ripples. So I put it in there, and there's 3 parts to the book. And the first part is all about really identifying what you want and why. And I walk through a really cool process and a dream session and some different exercises I've done with so many entrepreneurs that I've coached, and really, really honing in on a bigger picture, you know, whole life, 10 years, 3 to 5 years. And what are we focused on this year to have us on that journey? And the 1 year, there should be goals that are getting you towards those 5, 10 or bigger goals. And then there should be some that you can just knock out this year that are short term, like take that trip to Paris, or, you know, put blank here, or take the ballroom dancing classes, you know, whatever it might be, but having some short term things. But a lot of what I talk about has to be like, what actually brings you joy? What makes you come alive? I believe that our purpose in life, like, what's my purpose? I can't find my purpose. I believe our purpose is to find the things that light us up and make us come alive and shine as brightly as possible. That's what I believe our purpose is. And the things that light us up are all different. You know, so what is it that makes you smile? What is it that's going to put you at your best, that you show up at your best? And doing more of that. And for some people, they're like in corporate America, and they like, where they come alive is dancing or singing, you know, or painting. And I'm like, do that. Like, are you doing that at least once a month, if not once a week? Are you doing stuff that you're like, oh, I have this day, this creative, or like going out to the lake once a month? Because when you're in nature, you're so rejuvenated. So adding more of what makes us come alive, smile, and brings joy into our lives. Because, you know, I feel like people try to like, I want to go there. And they're just like, you know, but it's not just about getting there. It's about loving the journey there. You know, so what are we doing in that process? So the first part really is all tied around that and identifying that. The second part of the book is really the master plan and how to get it. And I really break down all the numbers, goals, figures, what I was taught and what I've taught countless entrepreneurs for years, and non-entrepreneurs. I've worked with families and in our church, and I've worked with schools and teachers with this as well. But just really basics of breaking stuff down. It's really neat because I break it down in bite size where it's like every time I've broken down goals, it's like, oh my God, I can so do that. Where in their head, they're like, I'll never be able to do that. Because they were just looking at this big, massive thing that looked like this boulder they could never move. And we break it down into like little small pieces. And it's like, oh, I can totally move this and then move this and move this and move this. And all of a sudden have this giant pile, right? So just breaking it down so it's like small, manageable, short-term goals, daily, weekly, monthly things to knock out. And then the last part of the book, I think, is the most important, which is just making sure you're in the right environment for growth, you know? So one, and I say the most important, you have to know where the heck you're going, because I feel our minds are like a GPS, you know, and when it knows its destination, it's going to get you there if you know clearly exactly where you want to go. There's adversity, there's failures, there's whatever, those are all the roadblocks, you know, but if it knows where it needs to go, it's going to reroute, but you got to know where you're going, right? But the last part is about the environment, because you might know, oh my gosh, like, and I use a seed, an analogy called seed of possibilities. And I'm like, I feel like every human is the seed of possibilities. And a seed, if left in the wrong environment, does nothing. I could leave it on my desk and it remains a seed, and maybe over time it deteriorates. But that same seed put in the right environment, nourished, given the right nutrients, taken care of, can blossom into this amazing thing that can create life for all around it, right? And oxygen, and maybe even food, right? Like an apple seed, or, you know, an orange. So understanding that that's what's in us, all right? But we have to be in the right environment, because in the wrong environment, we can get strangled by all the weeds, right? So what is your internal environment? What is your external environment? What's your circle of influence look like? What's your energy? You got to get your energy right. And I talk about spiritual energy, emotional energy, mental energy, and obviously the foundation, our physical energy, and making sure you're serving those and refueling. Because entrepreneurs, you guys, I get it. And type A's, you're like, I want to serve too. Go, 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 go. Guess what? Your car eventually goes to empty, and you've got to refill. You can't serve from an empty cup. You got to serve from overflow. So what are you doing to refill? And so we talk about that. And we also, in that last section, talk about keys to handling adversity, you know, and I share just really, you know, it's just never giving up, but like, how do you handle when adversity hits? And I go through some keys for that as well. And so every chapter has pause and reflect exercise. It's designed more like a blueprint. So it's not just another self-development book. So you're reading and there's like pause and reflect. And at the end of every chapter, there's a design exercise that builds upon each other. And so hopefully you've already taken some actions as you go through. And when you're done, you've got a pretty awesome blueprint for what's ahead.
Nice. Now, it comes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, which is the fear. Mm-hmm. Because you have a lot of people who are in nice, secure jobs. Mm-hmm. And they've got this longing in their soul. They want to do something, but then they go, ooh, what if it doesn't work? Mm-hmm. What if, I don't know if I want to take that leap. Now, we also have to understand that you don't necessarily have to get to your dream in one step.
Yes, that's what I was just going to say.
you can have that side hustle, which can be a stepping stone to help you get to where you want to be. A couple of the mistakes that I made early on as an entrepreneur is I sometimes tend to be a little too idealistic and I don't really think things through, and I just go, oh yeah, that sounds good. And just jump right in. And one of the things that I've learned is you should always have a steady stream of income coming in somewhere before you make that leap. But the key, I think you were talking about environment. The key is having that support network that encourages you and empowers you and challenges you to look at yourself to see what's really possible for you. And books like this are designed to be tools for you to use to give you the courage to move through the fears, but you got to be willing to do the work. You got to use the book. So if you're thinking about, you know, you feel that nudging and you go, you know, maybe I just need that little push. Well, this book could be that push. So I want to go ahead and give them the title again. What's the title of the book?
It's called Life as a Masterpiece. Design and Live a Life You Love Today. You can look it up on Amazon. Best thing is probably just search my name, Cathy, with a C, and then Christen, Chrisisten. You can also go to cathychristen.com. I actually have a free ebook that's really cool to do with your families, your kids, or coworkers. And it's 7 Steps to Living a Life You Love. And it's a fun PDF that you can go through and really share with each other, and gives you a bigger idea of like some things you might never talk about, you know, or your kids might not share with you, or spouses or great friends or coworkers. And it gives you so much more insight on like their why. And even if they're working at your architecture company, but like you didn't know their why was to one day build their mom their dream house, or, you know, their why was to like build a whole place of self-sufficient to help serve this in need and start a nonprofit. And, you know, you didn't even know that. But if you knew that, you could be like, hey, I want to teach you this. I want to help you with this project so that we can get you to that place where you can build out that nonprofit and build the housing and build all. And they're like, yes. And they're so excited and so much more tied into you and what you're doing. So I absolutely love this little ebook I created a long time ago. I've been using it for years with people. And it's just fun. And it makes it so much more fun for you when you're coaching and managing them or just leading them, again, as a parent in a church, in any environment. So that's a freebie on the website. And then there's a link to the book and stuff there as well, or you can just go to Amazon. So
once again, give them the web address they can go to get that.
Cathy, C-A-T-H-Y, Christen, C-H-R-I-S-T-E-N, CathyChristen.com. And go on there. That's the easiest.
Fantastic. Well, time flies when you're having fun. So as we wind down, I want you now to share with the audience your final words of wisdom. So whatever's on your heart to share with, you got a bunch of entrepreneurs watching you right now. So what are you going to tell them about living their dream?
I think it's really important. And what I was just sharing, to make sure you know, not just what you want, but really why. Like, why do you want it? What is it going to provide? What is it going to fill? What is it going to do? And does that really matter? And not just one level, but I tell people to ask, I have something called a 3 whys test. So this is what I'll leave you with, is my 3 whys. And so I ask them, what do you want to do? Oh, why do you want to do that? And they share, like, cool. And why is that important? And they'll share, and I'm like, oh, and why does that matter to you? And then they share. And usually when they get to that point, that's where the tears start coming in. That's where the real why. And it wasn't just, oh, I want to make money, you know, to have freedom. Oh, because I want to, you know, buy a place for my mom. Oh, because growing up we didn't have, and then you're like, oh, okay, here's the real stuff. But really thinking about why it is you're doing what you're doing. And by the way, sharing, letting people see more of that. Because I think when people get to see you be human and what you care about and what you're passionate about and why you're building these companies and why you're doing this and how you want to give back or how you want to help them be able to build their dream lives and build a life they love, you know, through your company, through your corporation. It's incredible how people, like, they want to learn from you. They want to listen. They want to follow. And don't be afraid of losing them. The best thing you can do is have people grow with you and go on to hit their dreams. More and more people are going to come want to work with you. So for me, I'm like, I would not want them to quit and stay. I'd rather them grow, blossom, and transition and be so proud to be a part of that journey, knowing that all they're going to have is amazing things to say and bring more people into the company because they know what you can do. And then there's the ones who are going to be loyal and be with you forever because they love you, they love what you stand for, and they'll always be there. But really identify that and share that and help more people live what they love.
Help more people. That's the key. Help more people by sharing who you are with others. That's amazing. Well, Cathy, I just want to say thank you for spending this half hour with us on Joy, Passion, and Profit. You are an inspiration, and we're looking forward to amazing things from you, and we'll have to do this again. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael.
All right, so this has been another episode of Joy, Passion, and Profit. So just remember, always remember, express your joy, share your passions, and be grateful for your profits. We'll see you next episode. Take care.
Amen.
Thanks for joining us here at Joy, Passion, and Profit. Always remember, you are the master of your own destiny and the captain of your own ship. There are no limits to what you can accomplish, and you are only limited by your imagination. Dream big and navigate your ship in the direction of your dreams, and once you get there, reach back and grab someone else and show them how to reach theirs. We'll see you next episode.